Regular session to order. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3, approval and amendment of meeting agenda items.
I move to approve the meeting agenda items for February 9th, 2022 regular session board meeting as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda items for February 9th, 2022, regular session board meeting as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of January 12th, 2022 regular session board meeting as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2022 regular board meeting as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right, good news, Mr. Carter.
Okay, Child Care Program, I got to meet with commissioners and some of our partners, and we're trying to figure out some other options. They gave me some homework to do, so I'm looking at some portable buildings maybe we can place at different places in the community, so we're getting that done, a official one. And then I'll put out, we do not have to put out an RFP for those if we do use that kind of building because they're under state contract, state bid. So we'll keep you posted on that one. I really want that to go. I was in a meeting today, so we have been given our spots, and we also have been with our hub, allowing us to ensure that our kids will be able to participate at all levels. So we're excited about that one. Any questions? Okay. Psd Superintendent Search, Mr. Thompson's on board. He can add in more, and I know that it closes on the 28th of February. That's the only details I have. And when I talked to him, there was no applicants, but that was a week ago. And then COSA, I'm sorry.
I didn't know if Mr. Thompson had anything to add. But I think, did we lose him?
I didn't even, he can
Oh, there he is. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that as of today, there's one applicant.
Oh, good.
Well, you're making progress.
We still have 15 days. We're doing okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, and the winter conference, it went really well. We had to go hybrid, so we went back and forth, and we're hoping that it will continue. One of the things that was great was on how to support staff with COVID fatigue, and mental health. So that was the entire workshop. It was very good. So I got some really good stuff we'll be using for our staff for future professional development. And so I think it was a very successful conference. Operational plan, you ready for that?
Yep.
So that's the one in your packet there. Now, this is it here. Now, what we're doing is we're just going to go ahead and roll over the packet, saying we're following all the guidelines. One of the additions that I will add there will be that after the March time, I'll bring it back to you on the 9th, and we'll revise it again, saying that I would be after the 31st, saying that we're no longer wearing masks.
Okay.
So pretty much what we're doing is we're adhering to the state guidelines so we can get our ESSER funds. And this has to be submitted on the website by the 25th of February. So if you guys approve this tonight, then what we'll do is we'll put that on there. That's our latest update.
And I just want to comment that if there's any possibility to be without masks as early as possible, that should be our goal.
Okay, got it. I'll make sure I push for that. So
Yep. Sooner than later.
And we were going to look at doing some proclamation stuff, but that's a moot point now. So I'll just push mask early, right?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. And let's see where I'm at now. Proper protocols, communication. Okay. So one of the things that happens a lot of times to all of us, and my board chair asked that we talk about that a little bit, is we get communication. I had one today, so it's a great example. So I thought I'd mention the one I got today. Somebody automatically sends me an email. And they say, hey, you need to deal with this situation. The problem is that takes away my ability to appeal. Yeah, I'm the appeal person, and it's a district problem, a building problem. So I put down, I'm sorry, this is not one of the things I do at my level, and send it back, you know? So that's a tough one, because your board members, you guys know everybody, and they come to you and ask you for questions and guidance. So when in doubt, just say, hey, let me get back to you, and then find out what we can do protocol-wise. And we can also authorize our attorney to talk for you as superintendent. The board can't authorize the attorney unless they all do it as a group, but I can. So if you want to talk to the attorney about a situation, we'll be glad to do that for you. So that makes it tough. So if you get a phone call like that, you can complain about, oh, so-and-so is not doing anything about the discipline, my kid's being bullied. Then you say, if you talk to the principal and they say, I already did, then you can say, let me have the superintendent get in touch with you. Then I can call, then I can set up a meeting or find out more stuff. So that just helps a little bit on the protocol. It's really hard because I want to intervene a lot of times. And I guess, I know you do too, especially know the answer, but remember sometimes when someone sends you the thing, you have to take yourself out of it if there's an appeal. So that's just what I try to explain to everybody. You might want to stop. An example today, I have an expulsion hearing that was had to be rescheduled. But that expulsion hearing, I don't want to know anything about it. When I walk into that expulsion hearing, it's fresh. I want to see if everything was followed, policies and procedures, and make sure we're following those. And then I'll ask questions, and then I'm allowed to do some investigation. So I just thought I'd mention that. I think that's what you want me to talk about.
Right, just because there's been, with the masks and, whatnot, people are tired of the
And
masks.
people are tired, they wanna know, and there's a big movement going around now about money, wanting to know where do we do with all this money, and then that's it. There's always gonna be pork in the government. I have not seen the pork in education. We have spent every dime we had on our kids. My best example is you look at some of the stuff here, Janet did a great job with one of our staff, one of our community members, and sent out, we got it yesterday, and she sent it out at late evening, she sent it out. It's over $700,000 we spent on computers. And Evan knows that one, our good tech guy. So our kids are one-on-one technology, and that was because of COVID money. So that's a great example, and a lot of people wonder about it. But we we're very transparent on this one. Anything with money is really easy to track.
We were far from there without COVID. As far as one-on-one.
We weren't even close to one-on-one. We were less than half. Yeah, and we didn't have anything to, for kids with connectivity. So that's pretty much it. It puts us in all in a hard spot, especially if you went to school with somebody and you know them since you were 12 or younger. And I appreciate that as a board member. It's hard on that one. And also it's hard when I hear somebody say, oh, they mistreated somebody, did something. I said, and now I want to get involved with it. And I have to realize, no, there's 2 or 3 sides of the story. And that's what I tell them, listen, let me work through it. But when in doubt, you can always pick up the phone. And if it's anything about me personally, then you just go to my assistant or go to the board chair. Okay. Thank you. And Madam Chairman, what we going next, right?
Right.
Next.
So we're,
Superintendent's report, I got that.
yep, so we're to public comment.
Yeah, before we go to that though, I want one thing I want to mention to you next month. We just got it. So next month, we're going to be talking about a grant that we received. And it's pretty exciting. So it's on mental health wellness. And Dr. Grace Bullock from ODU. And she has $5.5 million that she will spend in the next 2 years. And 3 districts will work with that $5.5 million. That's going to be South Plains School District, Hillsborough School District, and Lakewood. So I'm pretty excited about that. That will benefit our teachers. They'll be able to get certified, and that will help them with their salaries and everything. So we're pretty excited they'll be able to get a little more of the tools to help them dealing with some of our at-risk kids. So more on that next month. But I wanted to make sure to let you know when you see that in the Friday update.
I'm not aware that our school district has ever received an award like that, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, we got some really good people, and I appreciate all of our leadership, our administrators, and our counselors. This is going to be one for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a couple of public comments tonight. And so part of this is, I get to read you this little section on public comment. In reference to the board policy BDDH, public participation in board meetings. School board normally accepts public comment only at its regular scheduled meeting. Public comment is not normally accepted at special meetings / work sessions. Questions asked by the public when possible will be answered immediately by the chair or referred to a staff member for reply. Questions regarding investigation may, at the discretion of the chair, be referred to the superintendent for response at a later time. Speakers may offer objective criticism of the district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. The chair will direct the visitor to the appropriate means for board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals. See Board Policy KLD, Public Complaints about District Personnel. The school board welcomes participation in each meeting. During public comment, individuals addressing the board are asked to provide written summaries when possible, and we have the two requests and what they're going to talk about. Statements should be brief and concise, and we are limited to 3 minutes. Please announce your name before speaking. Be courteous and follow board established procedures for the meeting. Notification is given to speakers that meetings may be recorded. Okay, that was a mouthful. So, let's see, I believe, Sheila Struble, I think you and Rick possibly are floating around out there.
Yeah, this is Sheila Struble. Do I need to give my address or anything?
No, I don't think we need your address.
Okay.
We know you live in Lakeview.
Are you sure? So Kelly Vance actually has a set of questions, and she's going to be asking those that she prepared. So I'm going to let her ask the questions rather than myself.
Okay, yep, I got Kelly right here.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Kelly, you're up.
It all falls to me, apparently. Thank you for letting me. So, yeah, I've had a discussion with a lot of people in the community regarding the mask mandate. A lot of questions came up after people watched the video that Mr. Carter put out last week. It actually left me with more questions than answers. And it made me really wonder about the finances. I would just really recommend doing something to help the community understand what is on the table, what would be lost. You know, just making a blanket statement that if we stop the mask mandate now, money would be lost and jobs would be lost is not quite enough for most of us. You know, people want to understand what the money is used for. It's not that we think it's pork. We just want to know what the school is going to lose if the mask mandate was going to be ended. And people just want to make an informed decision as parents and community members about how to proceed. And I do think that's important information to get out there. It took me multiple emails back and forth to get some kind of satisfactory answers. I still have some questions. I don't understand all of the financial forms, but I have a little better understanding after I received an email, and I can't remember her name.
Janet.
Janet, yes, thank you. With a description of some of the funding. I'm still not sure what the total would be that would be lost at this point. And I just think that's important to share that with the community, not just say, well, we're losing money. You know, all of us are done with the masks, as has been mentioned. And
I don't think you're going to get any disagreement from us on that.
yeah, I did that. What I do have a big concern about is, you know, I don't necessarily trust the governor after 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we're 2 years into that I don't trust that that's necessarily going to end on the 31st. That's a week after spring break. I have concerns that their case count is going to go up at that time, and they're going to start making excuses why the mandate can't actually end. And so I would like some consideration by the school board and the school for how we're going to handle that at that point if that happens. Some sort of planning for we as a community are just done at that point, regardless of what Kate Brown decides. And that's kind of all I have written down right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I do know that Janet did send you some information, and I didn't see what you actually got, but I do think it will be important, and we'll see if we can get her kind of maybe a list that's not a bunch of things in a big form and difficult to dive through to get down to the nuts and bolts of, what we need to be able to share with you exactly with the specifics. So I think we can work to maybe clarify that information. I haven't seen that actual email. I knew that you got it. And that's something if, Sheila, if you would like that email, we can get that sent out to you also, but it might be more beneficial to take that information and instead of getting a lot of forms, get kind of a list of this is what we've done with what we've spent. This is what we anticipate we would lose, and you know how many jobs. It's kind of like, okay, well, we can't say that we're gonna, you're gonna lose Mr. Smith over here. Probably can't be that specific, but
we could put an FTE in there.
yeah, we could say, we could get a little more specific for you, and I think that's something that would be worthwhile. I'm with you. I don't trust that we're going to have this taken care of by March 31st. I hope that, it does happen definitely. And I don't know, Mr. Carter, if you have some insight on that. I know the one thing that probably a lot of people don't realize is the amount of time and energy that Mr. Carter has been working at the state level and really pushing for some things and the local control. So I do think that that's important to know that he has been out there. And if you don't, you as a parent don't necessarily know the push that he has actually done to try and get rid of the mask mandate, or at least get it to where we have control locally.
There's a lot of committees that work throughout the state in different factions. A lot of groups that meet in the weekends, and a few of us have been working on this since the beginning to get more local control, because coming from the other side of the state to here in the last couple of years, I definitely have seen it. I talked about it, but I didn't understand it. And now they understand it. I think people need to understand our distances, and we are able to do things quickly. So that being stated, I do not see this going back. And I understand your concern, Ms. Vance, but I do not see this going back. The 31st will be the last time we wear masks in school. So that's how I see it. I do not see it going back. I think that
Other than voluntary.
it's involuntary. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I think it's very solid. I think we're actually going to probably see them come off sooner, especially for the state. The kid part, they said dogmatically no, but they also said that we're going to be wearing masks forever, just 11 days before that.
So Kelly will work on some more details, a little more specific for you. Do you have any other questions that we could potentially help you with at this point?
No, that was it. I
Okay.
think, if it's possible to put out something to parents, I don't know if you want to put that out on the Facebook site or, share that information with the community, because there is a lot of talk all over the state, really, that of course in our community, people were concerned. We just want it over, or nobody trusts the governor. And so I think having that information, if your goal is to try to stave people off until that actually happens on the 31st or earlier, I think that would be somewhat helpful to at least understand how our school would be financially impacted.
Perfect. We can do that.
And again, I know you're saying you're planning, the 31st or before. I would really appreciate, some consideration for the possibility that that might not be the end date, and how our school would proceed if something came up.
Kelly, I just want to add, I think in turn, so we can share some information with folks, that parents also be patient. I think that our teachers, our administrators, Mr. Carter, heard everyone's voice a year and a half ago to get us in person, and I realized that it hasn't been perfect or ideal, But we have been running longer than anyone else in the state. And our teachers are tired, and our admin don't want to be the bad guys. So I'm hoping there can be some patience from the community for this next roughly 30 days as well.
Well, again, I think transparency would go a long way.
Well, and I'm hoping that there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not the freight train. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other folks coming?
No, they were just the two of them.
Okay.
So in one of the things, in some of this discussion, we are gonna talk about some of the Ursa money that is being spent here shortly. Okay, so we're gonna move on to reports. Building principal. I don't know.
You've got Susan and Hillary.
I would go with Hillary first, so they can go to the.
Oh, yeah, we gotta work on this donkey basketball being on a school board night.
I know, we have a ton of events this week and a ton of things going on recently, so I apologize that there's another event on a school board night. But if you can make it, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I volunteered to participate in donkey basketball, so you can laugh at me and hope I don't break any bones.
Just don't get kicked.
Don't what?
Don't get kicked.
I might, you never know. I was more concerned about falling off, but we'll see.
Okay, how's the high school?
Everything's going really well. So I was going to mention that we have donkey basketball tonight at 6:30 in the LHS gym. So if you guys can make it, that's going to be a lot of fun. Another thing that we're working on right now is Operation Prom Night. And we're going to be having an event called Operation Prom Night. It's going to be the week prior to prom, which is tentatively scheduled for May 21st. And the purpose of this event is to educate students on the dangers of drinking and driving. And it's going to be like a full 2-day endeavor, complete with a simulation and a ton of community partners involved. And we talked about it at our staff meeting today. We watched a video of one that was conducted in 2019 in Douglas County. And it's definitely really impactful, and I think it could save a lot of lives as far as getting that information out there prior to prom. Working on round 2 of formal observations for probationary teachers. They're going really well. I am really enjoying them, and it's fun to see all the great things our teachers and students are doing in their classrooms. Also, speaking of events, we have 2 dances this weekend. One is a middle school Valentine's dance this Friday, February 11th, starting at 7:45 in the DMS gym. And then we have our high school winter formal that following day on Saturday, the 12th, starting at 8 p.m. in the DMS gym. So tons of fun to be had this weekend. And then on Friday of this week, our English teachers are going to Ontario for a caravan to look at options for some curriculum adoption for next year for our English textbooks. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Warner.
Good evening. I wanted to start and give you an update with enrollment totals. I haven't done that in a month or so. Fremont and Hay schools are pretty steady at 327 students, and Union with 46 for a total of 373. Prior to COVID, we were running about 425 for student enrollment. So we still have not regained several of those students, quite a few of those students that have gone to the academy and or homeschool situations. Calendar of events coming up for the board and the public to be aware of. We have PBIS assemblies at all 3 elementary schools on February 28th.
It's just about it.
So those of you that are
I
new
learn
to
all the time in the boardroom, okay?
this, we have a clock that's got birds on it, and every 30
Yeah.
minutes we get to hear from a different bird.
Just for the public. Then February 28th through March 4th, we get to honor our classified folks that make up a large part of our elementary staff, and we sure do appreciate them. We did coffee 2 weeks ago, just kind of spur of the moment coffee for all of our staff. It was just a nice way to say thank you. We know you're tired, but we need to keep wearing masks. We need to keep doing what we do for students every day. March 7th, we have reading consultants here from the Valentine School District. That's a part of our professional development. Our K-1-2 teachers are working on increasing their awareness about phonics and how consistently they teach phonics to the primary kiddos. And then the grade 3 through 6 teachers are working with her on comprehension and vocabulary development for our students. March 8th and 9th, we'll be providing dental services on campus through Advantage Dental, and those permission slips are out to parents right now. March 12th is the Union Carnival. We're very excited to be able to bring that back to the public. The kids are selling raffle tickets right now. They used to have it a little later in the spring, but they moved it so that they can work on a St. Patrick's Day theme. They've got some great raffle prizes. If you see the posters up around town. Some of the projects that we are working on at the elementary school during your early release professional development time is QPR, which is student mental health training. We're seeing more and more students at the elementary level that are threatening self-harm, and we need to train our teachers in how to deal with those things. We also have a restraint training for elementary teachers that's coming up. Smarter Balance training, or any of our teachers that are administering Smarter Balance training have to go through a training and take a test. So they've been studying for those tests and getting those knocked out so that we'll be ready for Smarter Balance. We are starting a new program out at Union that's kind of exciting. We are partnering, Westside Parents Club is partnering with 4-H to offer a 4-H gardening club for all elementary students, town and Westside. On Wednesdays in March, they'll be working out in the Union greenhouse. They have some really fun things planned and adults out there to help with that project. We too are working on reading adoption. We have some teachers that are joining Miss Holzman's teachers at the elementary level up in Ontario this week for English Language Arts Caravan. And what that means is that those teachers will be going up and the publishers will be at this site with their sample textbooks and their sample workbooks, and you get to look at the materials. You're given a scoring rubric, and then you bring that information back to your staff so that they can evaluate reading adoption or reading text for an adoption for purchase. We haven't had one in quite a while. Very few of the publishers will actually send physical samples like they used to. They want you to do it all digitally through online links, and they really want to look at stuff and see. We did con 2 publishers into sending physical samples, and they'll be here next week. They're the ones we've used currently, and we spend some money with them, and so they're willing to send those to us. As part of our PBIS model for positive supports within the elementary school, Mr. Counts has a competition going on with Fremont and Hay. They earn points from everything for good cafeteria behavior, grades, attendance, citizenship. We do have a young man who is making a proposal that they also earn points for wearing masks and doing a good job with that. The students are really loving it. Competition goes to the end of the semester, and then the board in the Hay hallway keeps track of the Hay points, and Fremont's points are right inside its store. And it's been something that we needed. We needed to do something for the kids to have a little boost in morale and give them something to work towards. We are also working on plans for professional development, curriculum staffing, and our budgets for next year. That's my report. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rhodes, you're up.
Thank you. For the Academy, second semester is off and going with 31 students full-time, 3 students taking one course due to it not fitting in their schedule or some other extenuating circumstance. Several returned to our campuses at semester. We did have several seniors finish their credits early, and so that number's gone down a little bit. And there's just a couple that have said that they'll finish the year out and then do plan to return to in-person next year. But that's probably a pretty steady number again for next year, about 30 or so. At the high school, we've been working closely with our new SRO, Callie Dornbush. Hope some of you have been able to meet her. We've been monitoring hallways and bathrooms during passing times at lunch, and she's really been out and about with traffic patterns around the high school, reinforcing traffic laws. And students this week have been selling the orange crushes for Valentine's Day. I know Hillary mentioned those dances. We had a Lakeview graduate, Tiffany Paul, take the winter sports team's pictures.
Yesterday, it didn't work out in the fall very well with our previous provider. So we went with Tiffany this time around. Planning for graduation, began first semester with our grad meetings, but now it has begun in earnest as we are in second semester and we've stepped it up a notch. We have a lot of things to go through for graduation. Hopefully there won't be any restrictions in June from the state, so at this point we're planning for a full house. A lot of senior events are already on that calendar. We're really looking forward to that March 31st date as well. And I do apologize for that donkey basketball date. There were 2, maybe 3 dates that company had available, and the others conflicted with student events, if I remember right. One might have been in the fall, but yeah, sorry. It was making students choose or have it on a board night, so sorry. For athletics, a week ago tonight, we had our home wrestling tournament, and our team has done very well in their tournaments despite being a small team. They've been in California and Idaho, would have gone to Nevada. They've wrestled here a lot, of course. They're preparing for the special district tournament now on the 19th and state a week after that. We have a couple of senior wrestlers that have a good shot at being state champions, one of whom would be a repeat. Our basketball teams played home 2 more times, Thursday and Saturday. Girls will host a home playoff game as the league champion, most likely on Saturday, February 26th. Not guaranteed yet for that date and time. Boys are battling for second place in league in a playoff spot. So tomorrow they play the number 4 team in the state, that's Illinois Val. And we'll do senior recognition between those 2 varsity games about 5:30 or so. Spring sports begin full practices February 28th, not too far off. One of our basketball coaches was pretty excited for baseball coming up, so he's trying to stay focused on basketball right now. I'm meeting with our new league again Monday, and we're meeting regularly through the end of the year. We have some dedicated time set aside at the AD conference in April as well. We've got scheduling to figure out for multiple sports, some decisions to make on how to schedule with those long trips, a larger league, and fewer non-league games, just because there's a lot of us. That's all I have. Any questions for me?
Nope, thank you. Okay, on to the financial report.
Okay, if you guys don't mind, before I give the December, month-end financial report, I'd like to open it up to, Steve from Umpqua and go ahead and give that, our audit report for fiscal year 2021.
Okay.
Steve, are you on?
I think you might be muted on your end. We can't hear you.
He's not muted.
He's not muted.
You're not muted on our side.
Then we can come back to him.
Oh, maybe we could do that. I was trying to
Technology.
get Lindsay out this evening. All right, Steve, hang tight and hopefully we can get it fixed over there. Okay, so real quick, like the month end of December, month to date, revenues is at $664,000. This is general fund only. This does not include, any special funds that we have. So right now we are at $664,000 that we collected in the month of December. Our expenditures was at $945,000. So we're up quite a bit on expenditures by about $83,000 compared to what our plan was, which is what we estimate. And then our revenues is down by about $221,000 versus what we estimated. Going through some of the specifics, our local sources, which is our property taxes, were down in the month of December by about $198,000. Kind of doesn't surprise me with COVID and that sort of thing. I think we've had this discussion. It's going to be a little bit slower going forward. We've collected quite a bit, within our property taxes that we've collected, 2.7 million. But again, we are behind about 198,000 comparable to prior years. State sources were down about 37,000. If you remember, we had this conversation in November, on the November financial report in regards to, we went back and readjusted our ADM count on that estimate with the state. And so we are down about roughly 35 to 40 kids. So what happens, if you recall, is when we do the true up and we have our audit, then we could potentially be owing money back, and we don't want to ever be in that position. We always want the state to finish paying us off instead of us paying them for the shortfall. So there's that. So we adjusted those. Federal sources is about 208,000 collected year to date. The federal sources, those are some of the ESSER funds that we've been able to capture. That's a slow process. We have to go in and with those ESSER funds and actually apply to get the funds. So we have to give them very specific details as to what we are asking for. So what did we spend the money on the front end, and then go back and collect. So it's kind of a slow process, and they're getting a little bit better and a little bit quicker at it, but it is a slow process. We're up in salaries and payroll costs. We've added tons of staff just for our needs, and where we fit most. So 120,000 roughly, we're up on the year to date. Just in salaries, payroll costs, which is your PERS and your bennies, is about 355,000. So if you look at your report that I included in the board packet, roughly your overall, we're about 64% overall in collections for the year compared to what we had estimated. Local sources, 85 versus 88%, goes back to that 198,000. And then of course, state sources, which is everything from the state ODE, state school fund, about 57%, but we are at 56% because of that pullback that we did on the ADM to adjust those figures for that. Any questions on revenue? Okay, we'll just keep moving here. The expenditures overall, salary benefits, the whole shebang is, we estimated 33%, we're actually at 35%. And so if you look at the salaries end, we are actually paying out 38.6% versus the 34% that we estimated. And then of course, all other objects, which includes consumables, durables, school supplies, etc., we're a little bit up, 34% versus 32%, what we estimated that we would be at this time of the year. Any questions on that? Okay. Your last page there, we've had some readjusting a little bit on this, and I finally found my problem for being negative in June, and it helped us out a little bit. So overall, we're looking at December, we are a little bit down versus the 3.5 million that we collected last year, or that we had ending fund balance at, versus 3.1 million. So that means we're, roughly 400,000 difference from last year below. And so we're creeping down. And then of course in June is when we pay everything out. End of contracts, we pay balance of contracts on everything, teachers, classified staff, etc. And so right now we are looking negative at 262,000, which, we've been trying to be pretty frugal while maintaining our staff. And so I think that's important that we take care of our staff first and foremost, while at the same time being frugal. So I know Mr. Carter and I've worked really hard at recovering that from the November $700,000 negative. Versus today we're creeping back up to a negative 260,000. Any questions in that regard?
Keep working.
I don't have a lot of choices, Barry. Steve, are you on? Are you able?
We cannot hear him.
he's talking.
Oh, I
I
called
called
in
him.
by phone, but the meeting said it was muted due to the number of attendees.
I was unmuted at my end previously.
He's not showing me that. Oh, no. He called in by phone. We got a pile of people in it, so. It says due to the number of people in the meeting.
What's his last 4 digits of his number?
What's your last 4 digits?
Oh, mercy. 4279.
Okay. Let me see.
We're looking for you.
Okay.
Hmm.
I don't have any options for him. He's showing that's showing as muted.
Off button is right on the top. Okay. Hey, reservation. I'll come by tomorrow and grab it.
I don't know how to change the situation, honestly. Let's see.
So, do we need
So
to let
Steve-
Hillary
Steve,
go to?
Steve, call this number. Steve? Mute me here. Call this number, Steve. 503-369-9486.
I was gonna let Hillary off the hook so she could go
Yeah,
basketball.
Hillary can go.
Thanks a lot. I was stalling, guys.
Maybe he can get on if she gets off. Oh. Thank
ya.
you. Did that change anything on your side of it?
I'm showing him as unmuted for Steve
Unmuted.
Tuxer, and the number's gone. He disconnected from the number one.
He's
He's
trying
to call.
Because he's trying to. Oh, I think he wrote us another note.
Upside down. Oh.
Went to voicemail.
Call it again. I'm ready. Call it again.
Oh.
Technology.
Call it again.
Call again. Do we know his number? Can we call him?
Oh, yeah. Not showing anything.
Verizon's down.
Is it?
I don't know.
It's not showing I got a call. There you go.
Is he coming?
Hello, is that you? We have you.
Oh my gosh, alright. No more sign language here, okay? I wish they knew sign language, they go with it, but I don't. Can you hear me well enough?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Well, let's see, now I gotta get all unfrazzled here. I'll try to keep this brief, I know you guys got a lot of things to do. What I want to report to you, first of all, is that the audit went very well this year. With all of the challenges that we have doing all this stuff remote, including this meeting apparently, but we're getting good at this stuff, sort of. So Janet, thanks to Janet and my staff and everybody, the audit went as well as I could expect it to. We didn't really find any trouble spots in the accounting. We didn't find any troublesome issues with any of the effort that we expect in an audit. So I have nothing but good things to say in that regard. One of the primary things that we're expected to do on the audit is issue a report that says either that the financial statements are without material misstatement, or that there are things that we determined should be brought to your attention that would otherwise cause potentially a user of the financial statements to make a misjudgment in any of that. And so we we issue that report, and that's what that says for you guys, is that our findings were that there were no material misstatements in the financial statements. We're also expected to do quite a few different assessments regarding compliance. If you ever look at the very back page of, it's the very back page or close to it. In this case, page 70 of the audit report. There are 8 different bullet points. Each one of those has to do with compliance issues with state laws. Things such as being in compliance with budget law, insurance and fidelity bond requirements, state school fund calculations and factoring, which is attendance related primarily, and other different things there. And again, we found no matters of non-compliance there. So really, all in all, a very good audit report. I can tell you that much. The details of the audit, I'd be happy to go into some of the financial details if you'd like. I can also just go over kind of the format of the financial statements if you prefer some of that information. But I don't want to bore you with details, and I certainly don't want to take up more of your time than you already are offering up for your community. So let me just open it up for any questions that you might have for me, and I'll try and address those now. And if I can't, then I'll ask that you give me a chance to go and research something and get back to you potentially at the next meeting. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Go ahead, Bert.
Steve, this is Barry Schulenberger.
Barry?
This is the second year report, right, with Umpqua?
Actually, I think this is our third year.
Third year, okay.
Yeah.
Have we done them all remotely?
No, our first year we were there on site for a day anyway. We had a little challenge. That was the year, gosh, you guys had a bomb threat, I believe. Something happened while we were there. So we got kind of pushed around on that one. But otherwise, this is our second year of doing things remotely.
Okay.
Yeah.
If COVID slowly goes away or we get out of this mask thing, do you anticipate having an in-person review in the future?
Absolutely not at all. No. We'll still do as much as we can remotely, but we need to be there to do some observations of some of the procedures that are there. Part of what's usually done in our assessment of the internal controls that exist there. But in the interim here, we do inquiries and ask what procedures are being done and look to find evidence that those procedures are actually being done according to what we're told. And again, didn't find any problems there. One of the things that we are always challenged with in any audit, and every auditor is if we come in and do observations, the challenge is, well, so is this what you always do, or is this just what you do when the auditors watch you, kind of thing, right? And it's a challenge for all of us to just, do what we're expected to do, what you guys are expected to do, and for us to do the procedures that we need to do. Ultimately, as an auditor, we always have to have what we call professional skepticism, but we also have to at some point believe what we're told, and then we make observations as best as we can, either visually or in other documentation. But it's not like we're running around sneaking and spying on people when we're doing this work either. So, but internal controls is a significant part of our work these days. We have to, in the professional standards of auditing, one of the things we have to do is identify risks, primarily risks of misstatement of the financial statements, more so than risks of fraud or anything else. We always have to have fraud in the back of our minds and be considering what potentially could be going on here, but it's not our primary objective. The objective is to issue a report on the financial statements. But in assessing risk, we are required to consider all of the different internal controls and all of the different types of information that are in the financial statements. For example, when we have a number that says there's, in this case, $812,000 of cash, we assess whether that value is really there, and we call that the existence assertion. Well, then we also have the assertion that that money is actually the district's. So we look to see that it's in bank accounts with the name of the district on it, and so on and so forth. And every one of the different values on the financial statements represent different types of assertions. And we assess the risk of each of those assertions and determine where things are most likely to go haywire. And spend as much time focusing on those as we can and not waste our time doing things that are very unlikely to be erroneous in any way, shape, or form. So that's just one of the processes we do. Sorry for the long answer. It's kind of the nature of my nerdy thinking, I guess. But anyway, so does that help with your question at all?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, yep. Anybody else?
Mr. Carter, do you have any?
No, I'm good with it. Findings is what I'm looking for, and it's solid. So Janice done a really good job. So that's all I want to say.
Yep, she sure is. Yep. The timing of getting these audits done is a challenge. I will tell you that in the world of municipal auditing in Oregon, there are fewer and fewer of us that are doing this work these days, to the point where all of us that are still doing it are starting to feel a little bit overburdened, and we have to be very careful. And as well, you guys well know, it's very difficult to find qualified staff to do anything these days. So we are challenged to get the work done. We worked lots of hours, long hours, to get all this work done. I feel like I have pretty good staff, but we're challenged, and we do roughly 45 of these audits throughout the state now each year, and it's a heavy load, but we're happy to do it, of course, and that's what we do. But the timing gets a little challenging to get these things done by the deadlines, and for schools, December 31st is a very important deadline. So I apologize for any delay that we owe. It seems like we have had more or less every year with you guys, but we're doing our darndest, and we'll keep doing that. You guys are going out to bid for audits this year, so we'll be putting in a proposal, but we'll see how that goes. Any other questions? Thoughts, comments?
I don't have any others. Anybody else? No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, thank you guys, and I want to just toss out my hats off to you guys that are on the board. It's a difficult job, and you don't get paid nearly enough for what you're doing.
Says the financial auditor.
Have a great evening, and take care, and hopefully I'll be talking to you again.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Janet, are we finished with everything that you had for us at this point? I know you have new business down the way here.
I have new business, but I am done financially.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so on to old business. It doesn't look like we have any. Maybe not. So now we're on to new business, and Mr. Thompson has patiently been waiting for us.
Oh, no worries. Been through many a board meeting, no problem. So local service plan, all the superintendents in the county have been working with me, the last number of months, going through the local service plan, setting it up as for what they want. And this is the culmination of all of their direction to me. So, some changes from last year is, last year we anticipated we would have lost our school psychologist, but she was generous enough to come back one more year, but we are definitely going to be losing her this year. And so we may end up having to contract that, which is going to be an additional expense if we have to contract it. We were looking at some possibilities of some other scenarios. I met with other superintendents last Monday and asking them what they did because they don't have school psychologists. And so I was looking at their processes and stuff, and we're going to see about. We may end up having to do that if we can't find a psychologist. So that one's kind of up in the air. This year we've had Elena Bradbury and Rosanna Cahill sharing the responsibilities of our SSA liaisons. They've done a fantastic job of that, but we're finding out more information. The last bullet additional funding may be allocated by the state. They're now calling this the Aligning for Student Success, is what they're calling the funds. And it's going to include the Student Success Act dollars. It's going to include, let's see, there's six different areas that'll be in that. It'll be the high school success funds, the student investment account, that's the SSA dollars, the continuous improvement plan, the career and technical education, that's your Perkins dollars, the Everyday Matters dollars, and the early indicator intervention systems dollars. State has finally listened to the complaints of superintendents for years and years and years that there's way too much reporting and there's way too much of this stuff for them to be able to handle. And so in these new funds, the way they're doing it, they're combining all these, and then the governor has also added in some, they call it GEER money, GER. It's Governor Educational. So it's at her discretion to how to fund use these funds. She's applying some of that funding to ESDs, and part of that is that we are required to hire a 1.0 FTE minimum. Obviously, Multnomah County is going to have a whole lot more people than what we are, but we're going to be hiring a person to take care of all of the reporting, the filling out the applications, doing what needs to be done for these grants, so that we'll take that burden off of the superintendents in these small districts, because in small districts, many times the superintendent ends up having to do this. So that's going to be changing a little bit there with the SSA with Dave. Our speech and language pathologist, her assistant, Brittany McCrary, she has been in college and she's got her SLPA, speech and language pathologist assistant, and she will be graduating in December. And then it'll take probably at least a month for her to get her license, her SLP license. And then we will be able to be back on board of having 2 full-time SLPs at the ESD, which is what we want to have. We will probably start out the year with a contracted SLP just for the first half of the year, because this year we've been having Kathleen. She has been the only SLP that we have, and she's been, frankly, running the entire county, and she's overwhelmed. And she's been overwhelmed for quite a while. She's holding on. She's keeping good spirits, but she's looking at me cross-eyed if I don't find somebody to help for next year. So we'll definitely be getting hopefully a contracted person for that. A new service that we just started this year that I think is going to be a huge benefit to our districts is Ryan Tagg, our threat assessment coordinator. He has been trained as a crisis prevention institute behavior management. Basically, the restraint training that you hear about. He has been trained in that now, and so he is now able to do that training for any district or any employees in the county. And so that is going to be huge because it's always a huge thing trying to find somebody to be able to do that training. Pace has been pretty good the last couple, 3 years. But this year or the last 2 years with COVID, it's been terrible trying to get that person to come out. So we now have somebody in county to do that. And so the districts, as if they get 2 or 3 new people mid-year or something, we're willing to have that training done and it's run free of charge to the district. So, and that's the heights of the local service plan. Everything else is the same. And I'll just, since you have a huge agenda, I'll take questions or I can go into more detail like we do.
I don't have any questions.
Danny, Scott, you have any questions?
Think we're good?
You have any?
No, I'm just gonna make a motion.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have looked at the ESD local service plan.
I move to approve the 2022-23 Lake ESD local service plan as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the 2022-23 Lake ESD local service plan as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, so motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, and Mr. Rose is still with us. All right, so the LHS Clay Target League.
We just need to,
You're muted. There we go.
Yes. Sorry, I guess I misunderstood. I thought you had a question for me. So this is a pre-existing MOU with the Clay Target League, and our advisor Dave McCarty, for the documentation there, noticed that it was open to 6th graders at the Oregon USA level and wanted to open it up to that as well, just to be consistent with the organization across the board. That was the only change to that MOU.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Rose regarding it?
I have none.
No.
Okay,
Make a motion.
yes, please.
I move to approve the LHS Clay Target League Memorandum of Understanding as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second to approve the LHS Clay Target League Memorandum of Understanding as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That would be everybody, so there's nobody opposed. Motion carries. Okay, the Virginia Beach wrestling trip.
So this is a national tournament. The kiddos are paying their own way to. Mr. Bowers is that adult advisor that's going with him. Some parents go, and it's a mixed group, some middle school, some high school. And you can see the documentation there, their itinerary. It's mostly over spring break. I believe there's 2 days on the front end and 1 day on the back end. He was waiting to buy tickets for approval, so they have their plans just about fully in place. One of our seniors, either Morgan or Wyatt, I think it was Wyatt that went a couple years ago. I see another one of our kiddos wearing a jacket that he got from going there. So a couple have gone on their own, but he'd like to take a big group this year.
I move to approve the 2021-22 Virginia Beach wrestling trip as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the 2021-22 Virginia Beach wrestling trip as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Is there a reason why it's 2021?
Yeah.
Just the season it is, the school year.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
yeah, it's
We're in that
this
school
year,
year right now.
2022.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose. Okay, so on to item number 4, superintendent evaluation.
I move to approve the 2021 superintendent evaluation as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the 21-22 superintendent evaluation as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries, thank you. The other thing, and I'm not exactly sure, at this point because it's not something that we have to vote upon, but I would like to have a committee potentially look into the compensation package, of Mr. Carter. So I don't know, there's a couple of you that would like to look into that as to where it's at compared to others and bring forward a recommendation. Annie's got her hand up, and Scott. Okay, do we need 3 or is 2 good?
2's good.
2's good, okay, perfect.
3 for the majority.
Oh, then we'd be in trouble because there'd be too many of us, that's right. Okay, thank you guys. You can report back to us. Okay. On to buses.
We got some beauties, the biggest ones, best ones ever, so. If you approve these, we're gonna be in good shape.
Go big or go home.
That's right.
That's right.
It's been saving like a squirrel for years.
Right, Annie?
Do we have drivers?
Oh, we were getting a little help here.
People are gonna wanna drive these, these are gonna be great, so. They're pushers and they're great, so.
I do have, a proposal that combines for 2 buses. We do still have the DEQ grant that gives us, a percentage back up to 50,000. And so we still have that. I delayed it for a year, and then, we have 3 years that we could delay that and still use that. And so we would be able to use that. And then also in those ESSER 3 funds, that we submitted to the state a budget for year 1 and year 2. In year 1, we estimated about 320,000 to purchase 2 new buses. And remember, by 2025, we have to have some of the older buses moved out and newer buses put in. So I have a proposal for you for 2 buses at 305,000 that I'm looking for approval on.
Okay, and so when and I don't know if some of them are still on there as far as funding, part of this ESSER funding,
It's part of it.
that we've been talking about is going towards the bus.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. And then remember the 50,000 from the DEQ that we would actually get for trading off, not trading off, but putting out a commission 1 bus of a certain year, which I think is this year's bus 1.
okay,
And maybe note that we're not just buying new buses because we want to. It's been mandated.
Yeah.
You've been waiting for a while.
Yeah, by 2025, we were gonna have to have all the older buses,
Old buses.
with, is it the carbon? I apologize, my
Admission,
memory is
admission.
gone right at the moment. So, anyway, we had to get those off the streets, if you will.
Essentially eco-friendly, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
In general.
as best as you can make a diesel engine, I guess.
Okay, and then one of these is gonna be kind of classified, and used for our longer trips, right?
Yeah.
Little
Correct.
easier on our athletes.
Good for everybody.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I believe I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
I move to approve the Traversa bus mapping program as presented.
No, let's go up one, Annie.
Okay. I move to approve the Lake County Type D 2 buses purchase as presented.
Second.
Six,
Okay.
that's the next one. Sorry, my line was close. Thought it was all together. But I had to give it to you, Janet. I'm sorry, Corey. I had to. It's just been taking so long.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the Lake County Type D 2 buses purchases as presented.
And I second.
Yes.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Motion carries. Okay, so now on to the Traversa bus mapping program.
Okay, so along with that, we've been doing a little bit of research for the last year and a half or so in regards to a bus mapping program, something that can help my bus drivers with their stops on the regular routes. Plus, this will also be able to map out our sports trips a little bit better. So if a coach gives us an itinerary, we can put in our stops. We know where we're going. We don't get hung up in a tight spot trying to get turned around, those kinds of simple little things. And plus we should be able to, get our miles out of it and be a little bit more accurate with our bus accounting, if you will, because we do go back with the state and provide mileage, what's eligible for reimbursement, what's not eligible for reimbursement. So overall, this is going to save us a lot of handwork. It also reads with what is right now our SIS program, which when students register at the beginning of the year, then it will feed into this and we can map them out as to where that stop could be. There's also what they call a Ride 360, which is an app. So if I've got a bus that's running late, it'll be much easier for that, that bus driver might be stopped or gives one of us a call or something to hey, we're late. We can push that out that says Drew Valley running late due to snow. And so I think that overall, this would be a well worth investment for our district. Now there's several numbers as you look at it on page 21. And it's a range from 33,000 to about 40,000 is the full meal deal. And so I would like to shoot for that full meal deal if the board will allow us. We do, so how this is actually going to work is they'll start building our maps now. In the next fiscal year is when we would actually take ownership of that and those things would become due. And we did have, again, in those ESSER funds, right along with the buses, year 2, we have budgeted for this in those ESSER 3 funds in that 1.6 million. So I would like to go that far, as long as the board would like to approve that.
And then there's 70% reimbursement from the state too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really only paying for 30%.
To get the full meal deal.
This is the technology of choice, huh?
Yeah, it's the best one out there. It also upgrades it so that way when our people go, they know not to go to one-way streets. In the big city, we have people running lights and stuff. This will take care of it.
So it updates as things happen.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's important.
Okay. Any other comments?
Is this built into the buses or is this something you buy that is external versus internal in the bus?
Yeah, I think it's got both components. There is a monitor and then there's a. Okay. So we'll be able to
So there'll be something that we can put inside the bus, mount in the bus. The bus won't come automatically with it, but we'll mount reminds us like a GPS looking model.
Mark it right back to us and tell us where we're at.
Sounds great.
Well, I could see, depending on how that actually works, that, depending on weather and roads and when a team actually leaves from
Help us out a whole bunch.
a whole, if somebody leaves from
Send a message out. We're
Rogue
running 30 minutes
Valley,
late.
you can kind of have an idea where our kids are in the bus and whatnot, so.
Good safety.
Right.
Talk to you like Siri.
I don't know. But the other part too is a lot of times you have to put in mileage, like we're going to here to Progression. And now when the bus drives an extra 20 miles, because that's where our kids for food and everything. That's not counted. So now we get very accurate. Be able to get some more money.
Okay, good.
Kinda nice.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the Traversa bus mapping program as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the Traversa bus mapping program as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, boy, Janet is busy tonight. Keyless locks building entrance.
Part of the SIA plan was student safety, so this is gonna be it, so we'll be able to, our coach gets a fob, Janet does some homework on it, so the Quinn did a great job, so you'll be able to put a fob there, and if it's a coach, we can turn him or her off for a certain period and then reinstate it. If someone moves away, we don't get a key loss, we can load them in. And so it allows us a whole bunch of options. So safety and security wise, this would be exactly what you guys identified in the SIA plan, we're gonna do it that way. So we can track it the whole way through, with our computer. Who's in the gym? We know who's in the union now, we know where it's at.
I think I lost, there's my other page. I only got the really inexpensive
Expensive
page.
ones, yeah.
I didn't get the other one. Okay, so, and how are we paying for this?
This is part of the SIA grant that we have.
Okay, so it's part of that grant. Okay,
That's how the resource officers in there and you guys identified locks and key the stuff.
Right.
Nice thing about it, even when we build a building, we can transfer the stuff over.
Mhm. Well, and you know, this was something that was top of mind, earlier on, and you know, now everything has just been COVID. There's
Yeah.
not been any
We're
top
trying to
of
get, we're
mind
trying to get
back to our
we're trying to get back to
security
normal
and
to your
safety.
plan that you guys designed.
Correct, perfect. Any other comments? Nope. Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the keyless lock building entrance quote and paging system as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the keyless lock building entrance quote and paging system as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. It's been a long night already. Fading fast. Okay, agenda item number 8, complaint.
So just make that motion?
Yep.
Okay. So I move that it is not appropriate at this time to investigate the complaint just discussed in executive session. And I authorize the board chair to communicate this decision to the complainant.
Second.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Let me get the verbiage exactly right. That it is not appropriate at this time to investigate the complaint just discussed in executive session. And the motion authorizes the board chair to communicate this decision to the complainant. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Not your packet.
I think that was part of what Andy gave us.
Okay. Consent agenda.
I will be abstaining.
Problematic.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Mr. Schulenberger abstained. Okay, on to announcements.
I have a really nice one that we received last minute today, and it's from Miss Lonnie Chavez, and it's to the Lakeview School Board of Directors and all staff. Thank you for the beautiful send-off. It has been an amazing 20 years. I wish all of you the best of luck. Sincerely, Lonnie Chavez.
Very nice, thank you.
Very nice.
Mr. Carter, do you have any other announcements?
No, I think we're good. We're just moving down the road. We're gonna have a lot coming on.
Next board meeting agenda items.
The 2022-23 certified contract renewal. And we just received some policies, so we're gonna have to fit those in, guys,
We
sorry.
love policy.
I know. And then, updated ODE reopening.
Okay, any comments regarding the next meeting agenda items?
We love ODE.
We do love that and OSP policy. All right, on to adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, meeting is adjourned.
We need to turn off her
Yeah, we
camera.
need to hit the off
Good
button.
night.
Good night.
*6. That's how you unmute your phone.
Which is the off
future
button on this